Welcome back to the deep dive. We're continuing our exploration into the insightful teachings of Master Jun Honglu, a renowned international figure.
Hmm.
If you'd like a broader introduction to his work, definitely check out our first deep dive on him.
Yeah, that sets the stage nicely.
Yeah.
And today we're focusing specifically on Master Lu's text, Good, Evil, and Karma.
Right.
Our aim is really to unpack some of the key principles, within this work and see how they might offer us a bit of a fresh perspective on our daily experiences without getting too bogged down in overly academic language.
Okay, sounds good. Let's dive right into something pretty fundamental then, the nature of desire. Master Lu writes, and I'm quoting here, "Human beings have two natural instincts, food and sex. Therefore, it is very difficult for a lay practitioner to cultivate themselves, as they must exercise restraint in everything."
Mm-hmm.
What strikes me is this idea that simply being human, like in this realm, makes cultivation challenging because of these inherent drives. What's the core idea there for you?
Well, what's fascinating here, I think, is the Buddhist understanding that our existence in the human realm is kind of intertwined with these really powerful urges.
Okay.
I mean, they're essential for survival, procreation, obviously, but these very instincts can become sources of attachment and craving, and that leads to dissatisfaction, right?
Right.
So it's not really about these desires being inherently bad, but more about the potential for them to cloud our inner peace if we're not mindful.
He then offers this really striking image. To be free of desire in the midst of desire is like lotus flowers blossoming in fire. That feels like a real paradox. How do we even begin to approach that kind of freedom while still, navigating our everyday longings?
Yeah, that's a powerful image, isn't it? And it raises a crucial point about the nature of inner work, the lotus in fire.
Mm.
It isn't about eradicating desire altogether, which, let's face it, for most of us living busy lives isn't realistic.
Not at all.
Instead, it suggests cultivating a kind of detachment, observing our desires without being completely consumed by them.
Yeah.
Think of it like watching a movie. You can be engaged, but you know deep down it's not truly your reality.
Okay, like creating some distance.
Exactly. Meditation concentration, which Master Lu mentions elsewhere, helps us develop this observer stance. So the key insight here isn't to extinguish desire, which is often impossible day to day, but to observe it, almost like a detached scientist. That distance, that space, is where your power lies.
That makes a lot of sense, creating a bit of space between the urge and our reaction. Now, Master Lu points out why sticking to the 5 precepts, those basic ethical guidelines, can be particularly tricky for us, lay practitioners compared to monks and nuns in more secluded environments.
Right.
He mentions the constant pull of the outside world. What are some concrete examples of these external influences we face daily?
Oh, they're everywhere, aren't they? I mean, consider the constant stream of advertising we're exposed to, subtly and, frankly, not so subtly, telling us we need certain things to be happy, successful, or loved.
Yeah, it's relentless.
Totally. And think about social media feeds, often filled with these curated images of seemingly perfect lives. That can really fuel desires for comparison, for acquisition, wanting what others seem to have. Even just casual conversations can trigger wanting to be right in an argument, wanting to be admired, wanting that promotion someone else got. These external stimuli constantly tap into our senses and our, pre-existing inclinations. It makes maintaining inner discipline a much more active effort compared to a more sheltered monastic life.
It really is like trying to stay focused when there's a constant party happening next door.
Huh. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Okay, so let's talk about compassionate tolerance. Master Lu says, if you want to remain unwavering, you must observe precepts. In addition, whilst observing the precepts, you should also adopt compassionate tolerance, as your hatred goes away the moment your compassion arises. This sounds like more than just, gritting your teeth and putting up with things.
Exactly. What's significant here is the proactive element. It's about cultivating compassion as a direct antidote to those negative emotions that can derail our ethical practice. Compassionate tolerance isn't just passive acceptance. It's actively trying to understand the other person's perspective, even if you really don't agree with their actions.
He gives us a direct example. If you can sympathize with and feel pity for someone that you dislike immensely, you will have displayed compassionate tolerance. Wow, that can feel like a huge leap. How can we possibly bridge that gap when our immediate feeling is just aversion?
Yeah, that's the challenge, isn't it?
Yeah.
And this raises an important point about retraining our emotional reflexes. It starts, I think, with recognizing our shared humanity.
Okay.
Even someone we strongly dislike experiences suffering, right? They have their own set of challenges, and they're likely acting based on their own conditioning and past experiences, just like us.
Hmm.
So instead of focusing solely on their negative traits, can we try, even just for a moment, to identify a flicker of their vulnerability or the potential pain behind their actions? This doesn't excuse harmful behavior, let's be clear,
No, of course not.
but it can soften the intensity of our own hatred. In those everyday moments of conflict, when you feel that surge of dislike, try asking yourself, what might be causing this person to act this way? It's about shifting, even slightly, from judgment towards degree of understanding. Like, think about a time you clashed with someone recently. Could you see how even a small attempt to understand their perspective might have shifted your reaction?
That's a really helpful way to approach it, looking for the underlying cause rather than just reacting to the surface behavior.
We'll pause here for a short break, and then we'll explore how Master Lu reframes good and evil in a karmic context.
Okay, let's move on to the impact of our opinions. Master Lucic states, opinions are like nails. The more you hammer them, the deeper they tunnel in. But this is not going to work because we are not divine beings, we're only human. The opinions we share will surely serve as a cause of hatred in others. This really makes you think twice about always sharing what's on your mind.
It does, doesn't it? What's critical here, I think, is recognizing our fallibility, our own limitations. We see the world through our own lens, right?
Yeah.
It's shaped by our past experiences, our biases, everything.
True.
So even when we believe our opinion is correct or well-intentioned, the way we express it and then how it's received by others, well, it can have unintended negative consequences.
He specifically mentions that the common advice to always share your opinion and speak your mind can actually be problematic from a Buddhist viewpoint. Why is that?
Well, if we connect this back to the principle of karma, our strongly held opinions, especially when we deliver them judgmentally or inflexibly, can plant seeds of discord and resentment in others.
Ah.
Even if we feel we're speaking the truth, our human imperfections mean our communication can be flawed, and our truth might not be the other person's reality at all. Think about how many arguments just escalate because someone feels their opinion is being dismissed or attacked.
Yeah, happens all the time.
So the implication is that mindful communication, really considering the potential impact of our words, is maybe more important than just voicing every single thought that pops into our head.
Definitely something to keep in mind in our increasingly polarized world. Now let's explore the Buddhist view on good and evil. This is interesting. Master Lu says, it's a grievous mistake for a Buddhist practitioner to overtly differentiate between good and evil, as it will give rise to bitter hatred. After all, good and evil in the human realm is a continuation of predestined karma. This feels really counterintuitive to our usual way of thinking about morality.
It really does challenge our standard framework, doesn't it? What's fascinating here is the understanding that in the cyclical nature of existence, what we perceive as these distinct categories of good and evil are actually intertwined. They arise from this incredibly complex web of karmic cause and effect. So drawing a sharp line, clinging to a sense of righteous opposition, can actually fuel hatred. And hatred itself just perpetuates the cycle of suffering.
So, if we experience something we perceive as evil, like being treated unfairly, this perspective suggests it's somehow connected to our own past actions. Is that right?
That's the essence of the karmic principle, yeah. Experiencing unfairness is seen, from this perspective, as the ripening of a negative seed planted at some point in the past. Maybe this life, maybe a past one.
Okay.
Now, this isn't about assigning blame in a simplistic way like you deserved it. It's more about understanding the profound interconnectedness of actions and their consequences. It shifts the focus from solely blaming the external perpetrator to looking inward at our own karmic journey.
But even the desire to speak out against injustice, if it stems from hatred towards the person doing the injustice, could that be planting negative karmic seeds? That's a really tough one for many people who feel a strong sense of justice.
It is tough, absolutely. And this raises a crucial question about our motivations. While the desire to alleviate suffering and promote fairness is, of course, important and commendable, if it's fueled primarily by anger, resentment, or desire for revenge, then yes, according to this view, it can indeed create negative karma. The emphasis here is on acting with wisdom and compassion, rather than just reactive hatred. Remember, from this viewpoint, good and evil aren't fixed, static labels, but rather manifestations of these karmic flows that we can influence through our present intentions and actions.
This leads us nicely into practical ways of responding to negativity, like practicing self-restraint. Master Lu quotes a senior monk saying, "If somebody slanders me, I must tolerate them. If somebody bullies me, I must let them. If somebody looks down on me, I must be respectful towards them." These are very direct, almost challenging instructions.
They are challenging, definitely. What's key here is the underlying principle. Our reactions to negative external stuff are what truly shape our karmic trajectory. The senior monk's advice offers concrete strategies to interrupt that cycle of negativity.
How so?
Well, tolerance, letting be, which means not engaging or escalating and responding with respect, even when it's difficult. These are all ways to diffuse potentially harmful situations and, crucially, prevent those negative emotions from taking root within us.
Can you give us some relatable, everyday examples of how we might apply these? Because "let them bully me" sounds problematic on the surface.
Right, and it needs careful interpretation. It's not about becoming a doormat. Let's take the examples.
Yeah.
Imagine a colleague spreading rumors about you. Instead of getting drawn into office gossip and retaliation, practicing tolerance might involve remaining calm, focusing on your work, maybe addressing it directly, but without animosity if necessary.
Okay.
If someone is consistently critical and belittling a form of bullying, yes, letting them be could mean setting clear boundaries. I don't appreciate being spoken to like that. But without engaging in defensiveness or aggression yourself, it's about not getting pulled into their negativity.
I see, so it's about controlling my reaction.
Precisely. And even if someone treats you with condescension, responding with basic respect, maybe just calmly and professionally, can often disarm the situation and, importantly, preserve your own inner dignity. It's really about choosing a mindful response over a purely reactive one.
That reframing helps a lot.
Let's take a short break here, and then we'll come back to explore how our inner world shapes our actions, leading into our final points of today's discussion.
Okay, let's shift focus slightly to the power of our inner world, specifically positive thoughts. Master Lu says, if you wish to perform good deeds today, the positive thoughts, ideas, and aspirations emanating from your heart are very valuable assets. It is an asset and a seemingly inconspicuous yet incredibly important source of strength and energy. It's interesting how much weight is given to something internal and, well, unseen.
It is, and it's central to many Buddhist practices. What's significant here is the understanding that our thoughts aren't just fleeting mental events. They actually have a real impact on our inner landscape, on our consciousness.
How does that work?
Positive thoughts, even small acts of kindness we just imagine or intend to do, plant seeds of goodness within us, often referred to as planting in the eighth consciousness, or alaya vijnana. These seeds influence our overall disposition and our future actions. They cultivate a kind of reservoir of inner strength and resilience.
So it's empowering to think that simply cultivating positive intentions can be a form of good deed in itself, even before any action.
Absolutely. It really highlights our active role in shaping our inner world and, by extension, fostering positive outcomes through the quality of our thoughts right now in the present moment. It's about internal cultivation potentially leading to external good.
That leads nicely to the final point I wanted to touch on, internal versus external freedom. Master Lu touches on this crucial difference. He says, it is pointless if a person has external freedom but lacks internal freedom. Freedom is being unrestrained and at ease. External freedom alone will never be able to conceal the lack of internal freedom. That really hits home. I think we've all probably felt trapped by our own minds, even when outwardly circumstances seem fine.
Well, absolutely. What's insightful here is that distinction between, say, freedom from external constraints, like not being physically imprisoned or having free time, and the deeper liberation that comes from inner peace, from mental freedom.
I can give an example.
Sure. Think of someone who has a lot of free time. Maybe they're retired or between jobs, but they spend that time constantly worrying, feeling anxious, replaying regrets. They have external freedom, but they're essentially imprisoned by their own thoughts and emotions.
Okay, yeah, I can picture that.
So true freedom, in this view, isn't just about our circumstances, but fundamentally about our inner state.
So it's not enough just to change the outside.
Precisely. When we lack that internal peace and maybe self-mastery, negative emotions like fear, anxiety, anger, they can dominate our experience, regardless of how free our external situation might appear. True and lasting freedom really encompasses both a life ideally free from unnecessary external restrictions, sure, but underpinned by an inner state of calm, ease, and equanimity.
Wow. This has been another really thought-provoking deep dive into Master Lu's teachings. We've touched on some really fundamental aspects of his philosophy: desire, tolerance, opinions, karma, freedom, and how they relate to our everyday struggles and aspirations.
Indeed. And we really hope these insights from good, evil, and karma offer you, the listeners, some valuable food for thought. Just a reminder, this deep dive is part of a nonprofit effort to share these kinds of teachings.
That's right. And if you'd like to explore any of these concepts further or perhaps have any questions, please do check out the show notes. We'll put additional resources there.
Mm-hmm.
We also genuinely encourage you to email us any topics you'd be interested in us covering in future deep dives. Your curiosity really drives what we explore here. We want to cover what you're interested in.
Absolutely. And maybe, finally, just consider this. Take one small idea from our discussion today. Perhaps the practice of just observing your opinions before voicing them, or maybe trying to find just a sliver of understanding for someone you find difficult, and just see how you might apply it, even in a small way, in your own life this week.
A great final thought. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.